I feel like the music that I use for Ironjawz in my videos should be like just raging death metal. That's what it should be, right? Because it makes no sense that it's soft and easy when it's How to Win with Ironjawz, September 2024. Hey, thanks to all these people that make art, man. Like Men with Toy Soldiers, Argyle Alligators, Jittery Grabbers, Majuj, Malavoyja, Mask Obscura Photo. This photo right here is from the Bearded Dan Paints, Chef's Kiss, Xenomotif, and of course, Wyberian, who's given so much art to the channel. Thanks to all my patrons, my newest Mega Boss patron, or Boss patron, Matt Miner. If you guys are interested in hanging out in TTS and messing around with some practice sessions, maybe doing some Q&As, or if you're just a fan of the channel and you want to support, Patreon is the best way to do that. I'm trying to get 50 patrons by Christmas. It seems like a dumb goal. I'll get back to you on that. Thanks to Baron of Dice for supporting the channel as well. If you want to buy some dice, you might as well buy them from Baron of Dice. Look how sick those dice look. And if you're going to buy dice from Baron of Dice, you might as well use code MDG at checkout. Is that everybody? That's everybody. Let's get into it. So let's do a quick army overview. This is sort of like a TLDR for those of you that aren't super familiar with Ironjawz. But the army has a 3-up save army wide with a potential 6-up ward. Means that we have tanky boys. So we are harder to shift than we were in 3rd edition. That's for sure. The army, all of the infantry have a 4-inch move and a 10-inch move for our bigger things. So we are slow boys. Our rules are very simple and light. There's only 2 faction rules, and there's not a ton of like interactions. Like everything is pretty simple, I would say. So it means that we're easy boys. It's not a very difficult army to sort of understand and pick up and play against, right? With one exception, we'll get into that later. And we actually have some pretty decent prayers and spells, and some pretty decent wizards and priests. I don't know. Our Weird Knob being able to cast 2 spells is pretty good for destruction. And the War Chanter's ability, I was hoping it would be good, and I probably overrated it at the beginning. He generates some extra points if he kills things, but he's not going to kill things. So, and overall we are weak to mortal wounds, right? Because we do have a 6-up ward, but it's not amazing, and we are priced for having good saves. So generally speaking, anything that has like a really good save and like a mediocre to no ward, we're going to be kind of weak against mortal wounds, right? Because we're costed to be good at good armor, so it's like our weakness. And anything that gives -1 to hit effects, we really struggle with, because we throw like okay volumes of dice, but with -1 to hit, it kind of hurts. So that's kind of like a general army overview. But let's get into to our battle traits. So first there's only 2. We have Mighty Destroyers. So in any hero phase, as the Honest Wargamer likes to say, every hero phase, you pick a friendly Ironjawz unit that has not been set up this turn. The target can move 3 inches. It can move into combat. If it was in combat at the start of the move, it must end that move in combat. But it doesn't say it has to end the move in combat with the unit that it was already in combat with. So technically, a unit could swap combats. It could leave combat with one unit and enter combat with a different unit. There's a lot of different things that we use Mighty Destroyers for. The second battle trait is the Ironjawz W. Once per battle in your charge phase, your charge phase, not any charge phase, your charge phase, pick a friendly Ironjawz hero to be the target. For the rest of the turn, the following effects apply to the friendly Ironjawz units while they're wholly within 18 inches of the target. 18 inches is a nice big range, so you just sort of pick a hero that's in a good position in the middle of the board or whatever. Add 1 to charge rolls for those units. Pretty small overall. And then add 1 to the attack characteristics of those units' melee weapons. This is actually good. Changing Ardboys from 2 dice each to 3 dice each is a 50% increase in the amount of damage, or in the amount of dice that they throw. That is significant. For other things, like for, generally speaking, the more dice that you throw, one extra die is like has diminishing returns. So like for brutes, like you're adding 5 extra dice, which for a unit of 5 brutes, which is good. A reinforced unit of ragers, you're adding 6 extra dice, which is pretty good. But for Ardboys, you're going to add a lot of dice. And then for things like hack and cruise, like for our monsters, like Maw Crushas, You're going to be adding, I think with a Hacking Crew, it'll be 4 dice, and then with Maw Crushes, it'll be like 2 dice, right? So the Wa is best, or I shouldn't say it's best, but it has the most value with Ardboys, for sure. Especially like reinforced Ardboys. Like if you were like, I want to make my Wa as big as possible, it would be like, you know, 2 times, or like 2 times 20 Ardboys, and then like Brutes and Ragers, right? So looking at them a little bit more closely in detail, so Mighty Destroyers. So this 3-inch move is very strong and powerful. It's obviously the best thing that Ironjawz has going for it. And the way that I like to describe it to my opponents is like, we're like kind of sneaky in weird ways, and we're coming. Like, you're going to have a hard time like staying out of combat with us, because everything's just going to keep like grinding into you. It's really got that feel, right? So it's used for grinding into your opponents with your infantry bricks. So things like Ardboys and Brutes and Ragers, you know, they can like move 3 inches and sort of get deeper into your opponent. They can sneak into their back lines and kill their infantry heroes. Oh yeah, on your turn there, opponent, at the end of your hero phase or whatever, I'm gonna like move 3 inches, and then and then when I pick to fight, I'm gonna pile in 3 inches, and then I'm gonna have a 3-inch range. So you better be really far back from those front lines. So this can do things like make it really awkward for your opponent when they're trying to keep their heroes safe in the back, while also keeping those heroes within range of friendly units, like let's say wholly within 12, or enemy units, right? So it's like, it's going to keep things a little bit further back. Used for moving slower units up the board so they can get into the fight, and putting units more fully onto objectives. This is like for Brutes in particular, right? Like, I often use Mighty Destroyers with my infantry because they're just so slow overall. So, you know, right away on turn 1, if I wanted to use it on Ardboys to just move them 3 inches up the board so they can get into the center a little bit more quickly, that's a good use. Or like if I wanted to position Ragers a little bit closer to where they need to get going, just to sort of get them moving. Or piling Brutes onto objectives to try to zone out your opponent with the Brutes' ability. I think it's still called Yamesin. I can't remember. Doesn't matter. You can move out of combat with some units as long as you stay in combat with other units. We've talked about this already. You can use it defensively on your opponent's turn to move out of charge range. This is particularly good when comboed with a redeploy, because so like if you let's say that you Mighty Destroyers and then redeploy away, you're getting to a minimum of 4 inches. If you have the, I think it's the heroic trait, an eye for to fight, it means that you redeploy a minimum of 4 inches. So this means that you can move away from your opponent 7 inches. This is, of course, before they move, but if they also have like slow sort of infantry, like if they have a really fast unit, it's like you're probably not going to be able to get away from them to charge. But if they have a, you know, like a regular 5-inch move, infantry, you know, you're gonna get at least 7 inches away from them, so you're gonna be adding onto that charge roll quite significantly, right? So that's pretty cool. Sorry, I have a cold, so I'm gonna be a little bit whatever. Used on your opponent's turn to move into combat with something that would want to move away, so you can pin things in. You can like grind deeper into your opponent's lines on their turn before they move, so that they're not, you know, so that you tag things in combat that want to be elsewhere. This is really nice with Ardboys because they're pretty tanky, right, with their 3-up save and a possible 6-up ward. That you can really tar pit people with this if they're not paying attention. It's used in a lot of different ways, but one thing that people keep saying to me over and over again is, you have to like really be paying attention to scoring your tactics and to denying your opponent's tactics. So for example, if your opponent is trying to, let's say it's your opponent's turn and they say, oh, I'm gonna take the flanks. Cool. You might be able to use Mighty Destroyers to move like one of your big pigs on your flank a little bit further up to block a choke point to make it impossible for your opponent to get their battle tactic. Or maybe you're playing against Sylvaneth and they did take their land. You might be able to use Mighty Destroyers to move something 3 inches so that you have more toes touching the piece of terrain that your opponent is trying to control. There's a lot of different ways that you can use this. to score your own tactics and to help deny your opponent's tactics. It's really like a high skill ability, Mighty Destroyers. So it just takes a lot of practice, right? There's lots of ways to use it, and the best way to do it is just to try different things and see what happens. Or watch other people play, right? That's another really common way that people make it work, right? Ironjawz W, so this is our second rule, does what it says on the box. Is this the turn you want to send things in and kill the important stuff your opponent has? Call your W. It's better to call it earlier than later. If you're relatively new to the army and you're not sure, just call it on turn 2 every time. That's okay. If you call your W every time on turn 2, probably at least 60% of the time, you'll be doing it correctly. Turn 4, turn 5, it's probably too late, where you've lost a fair number of your models, so there's not a lot of like models that are getting extra attacks. It's better to call it too early than too late. Like I said, if you call it every time on turn 2, you'll understand when you should be calling it. I'd say the vast majority of the time, it's going to be called turn 2 or turn 3. So, and yeah, it works nicely with strike first effects, like the Ragers for yourself, right? Because you're going to get even more dice. And it also is nice with strike last effects, like with the Maw Grunta, where you can give your opponent, you know, strike last. If you have a strike first on your side and a strike last on your opponent's side and you're calling your Wa, you're going to be able to throw out a lot of damage before your opponent gets a chance to react. So, but again, it's pretty straightforward. It does what it says on the box. Adding attacks is really good. The +1 to charge is like whatever. You know, it's nice, but it's not super relevant. Not super relevant. Usually with Mighty Destroyers and everything, we're able to kind of get where we need to go for some decent charge rolls. You know, so yeah, like it's fine. Overall, the battle traits for Ironjawz, and this is what I was saying before about how the army's quite simple. It's like you have this once per game, Wa, and then every hero phase you move something 3 inches. There's not like, it's really simple to understand. While Mighty Destroyers is difficult to master, it's very easy to understand how it works and to like use it and remember it, you know. So like a pretty simple army to pick up for sure. Battle formations. We have 4 battle formations. We'll start with the Ironjawz Brawl. If you make an unmodified charge roll of an 8+ for a friendly non-hero Ironjawz unit, add 1 to the attack characteristic of that unit's melee weapons for the rest of the turn. So one interaction that's really strong here is with Kragnos, because Kragnos' 3d6 does not count as a modified charge roll, so the average charge from 3d6 is 10, so the majority of the time you will be getting an 8+. So it's for non-heroes, and it is +1 attack. So if you wanted to do like a Kragnos infantry base with like lots of Ardboys and Brutes and stuff and Ragers, yeah, lots of Ardboys and Ragers, man. Kragnos, Ardboys, Ragers, you're in, right? This is going to be a good sub-faction for you to take. Outside of that, I'd say for any other like non-Kragnos lists, I don't think this is what you want, because I think an 8+ for a charge is like it's less than half the time. It's like 40% or something, right? So when you want it to happen, it's not going to happen, and when you don't want it to happen is when it's going to happen. That's Murphy's Law, right? And it's non-hero, so it's like the Maw Crusher doesn't count. Not that the Maw Crusher getting +1 attack characteristic is that strong, but, you know. Yep, Grunta Stampede. Add the number of enemy units that have been destroyed this battle to the move characteristic of friendly Gore Gruntas and Maw Grunta units to a maximum of +4. So, pass on this one. So at the very beginning of the game, it's going to be 0. Probably by the end of turn 2, it's going to be 1 or 0. And by this time, like, the later in the game that you go, the less I feel that move characteristic matters. So, like, oh, look at me, it's the end of turn 3, and I just finished killing off my 3rd unit. So at the start of round 4, some of my guys get +3 to move. Well, they're already stuck in combat. You know what I mean? So it's like a lot of times if you play Grunta Stampede, you'll feel like you're not having any kind of rule. You'll feel like your rule is empty, right? So it's not a great pick overall, I'd say. Iron Fist. The first time each turn that an enemy unit is destroyed by a fight ability used by a friendly Ironjawz unit, add 1 to the hit rolls for combat attacks made by the next friendly Ironjawz unit that is picked to use the fight ability for the rest of the turn. So Age of Sigmar is not as lethal as it was in 3rd edition. We can't be sending out like pigs that charge in and just blow things up with like Hoarfrost and Violent Fury and all these things. So this edition is much more grindy. So killing things in combat, especially on your first activation, if you get a chance to pile up like 3 different units and attack with 3 different units into one enemy unit, you'll probably kill it, but probably not with your first activation. +1 to hit though is very strong for this army. A lot of our dice hit on 4s, so getting +1 to hit from any source is pretty good. But don't forget too that you get +1 to hit on the second unit that fights, and a lot of the time your second unit that fights is going to get attacked by your opponent before you get a chance to fight back, right? We're in combat in 2 places. Well, I activate my first unit and attack your first unit, so then you activate your second unit to attack my second unit, right? Like, it's just the order of combat. We do have strike first with ragers and stuff, right? But it's like, it's kind of meh, you know, like it's kind of tough. What this should have said, this Iron Fist, the rule is actually called Smashin' and Bashin', if I remember correctly. What it should have said is that the first unit that fights gets +1 attack. Then this would have been the best one, I think. If Iron Fist says the first time you activate fight, they get +1 to hit, or pick one unit, they get a free all-out attack, this would be the best one. But just with the order of fighting and everything, and the fact that you have to kill something, it's like, it makes this too many hoops to jump through. That's how I feel about Ironjawz Brawl, Grunta Stampede, and Iron Fist. They're too situational, or they're too random. There's too many hoops to jump through. They're not super consistent. It's like, I'm not a big fan. Sorry, I saw a mistake there. Which brings us to Weird Fist. Friendly Ironjawz infantry units have ward 6 up, while they're wholly within 12 inches of any friendly wizard or priest. Well, we have some good wizards or priests, and they're going to be falling around infantry. So being able to give our 3-up save infantry a 6-up ward is actually pretty good. This is the one that I picked the vast majority of the time, especially if I have a brick of infantry, like Reinforced Ardboys. I have a Reinforced Ardboys in every single list that I make. Even if I'm going for more like a big pig list, you know, like if I want to run a bunch of monsters, I'm still going to have a reinforced unit of Ardboys with a Weird Knob Shaman that's hanging out behind them because, well, we'll get into that in a little bit. So Weird Fist tends to be my go-to. If you really wanted to do, like I said, if you could do with Kragnos an Ironjawz Brawl list, I think, and that would be pretty strong. But then after that, if you were like, well, I'm going to run like a monster heavy, you know, no priests and wizards, you know, like big pig style list, and so Weird Fist isn't going to work, and because there's no Kragnos, Ironjawz Brawl isn't going to work, what would be the next one I would take? I don't even know. Sorry, pardon me 1 second. I'm just exploding my face. I don't even know what I would take. It's like Moss. No Kragnos, no wizards, no priests, lots of big pigs and little pigs. What do I take? Maybe Ironjawz Brawl, and sometimes it'll be good. Yeah, probably that. I'd probably take Brawl. I don't think I'd take Grunta Stampede or Iron Fist almost ever. Weird Fist, I think, is the best one, and then Brawl sometimes is better than Weird Fist, depending on the list. But if Weird Fist is terrible, like in your list, then you just take the Ironjawz Brawl, I think. I think that's essentially how it's going to work out. Army of Renown. So, the Army of Renown, for those of you that don't know, is a whole different way that you can play Ironjawz. The Army of Renown has its own battle traits. All that you can take for heroes is a Tusk Boss. There's no other hero that you can take. So, it's like you're going to be taking probably 2 Tusk bosses. One that's going to be more aggressive and one that's going to be more defensive. And then you can take the 2 other big pigs and then Gore Gruntas. And no Army of Renown. So it's big pigs, little pigs, and that's all that it is. So there's a lot of rules. They have 6 rules, and I'm not going to go over them in great detail. I'm just going to sort of give you like a quick, whatever, like a synopsis or whatever. So the Grunta Wa, this Wa is kind of weak. All that it does is give like bonus damage to Trotters and a little bit more damage from Gore Gruntas, and you can reroll charges. The best part of this is probably the reroll charges. because I don't care about adding attacks to the Trotters. They're not very good. It does do a little bit better with the impact mortals, but D6, it's still pretty random. So while it can spike, it can also still be 1 or 2, right? I don't know. Doesn't feel all that great to me. Let's just put this over here on the side. Try to get this all laid out a little bit more easily. Eaten on to hoof. It's not working out. So once per turn for your whole army. So this is any charge phase. So this is every charge phase. It's an additional rampage that lets you roll a die and kill a model. It's like a pretty standard kind of rampage. It's nice that they give you this rampage because you can only use your rampages once. So it means that, you know, you'll be using like all your different, like you'll run out of rampages, right? So then this lets you do another rampage on top of the ones that are on War Scrolls. So that's a good thing to have, and it can slay a model. If you have a unit that has 3 momentum, you need a 3-up to kill a 5 wound model. So this could be like a Kurnoth Hunter or a Rock Gut. So that's kind of nice. If you're charging into something big and beefy, you take your highest momentum guy and you can just remove straight up. Like a 3-up, remove a Rock Gut is nice, right? That's nice. Next, we have Monstrous Momentum. So this is a passive. Add the current battle round to the move characteristic of friendly Grunt to Stampede units. Every single unit in your army starts with +1 move at the very beginning of the game. And from there, on round 2, they get +2 move. So this is better than the sub-faction, the Grunt to Stampede sub-faction in standard Ironjawz, because you get the movement right away. You don't have to kill enemy units, you just get it right from the very beginning. And this is actually okay. Like round 1, having like 11-inch move big pigs is like, okay, like, you know, like that's not bad. And then if they're running and then on turn 2 they're getting an additional 2 move, it's like by the time round 3 comes along and you're sending in that third wave of pigs, you're going to be able to get them where they need to be. So this is actually a pretty decent passive, right? Let's see, what did my notes say? +1 momentum and oh no, +1 to +5 move army wide. Yeah, like that's pretty strong, right? End of the first battle round, we have Incessant Drive. Add 1 to the momentum score of friendly Maw Gruntas. Okay, that's fine, right? Hopefully they ran. What this is going to mean, essentially, is that you don't lose momentum for Gruntas in the first battle round. Right, because you're going to subtract 1 from their momentum score, and you're going to add 1 to their momentum score at the same time. So that's actually pretty okay. It's not great, right? It's just kind of fine. So we have more battle traits. Wog Hogflesh. Essentially, what Wall of Hogflesh? So it's a passive. You pick a friendly hero in the hero phase. For the rest of the battle, subtract 1 from hit rolls for shooting attacks that target it while it's wholly within 6 inches of a friendly non-hero Grunt to Stampede unit. It gives it Lookout Sir. It gives it like a version of Lookout Sir. So, like I said before, you're going to have one Tusk Boss that's going to be more defensive. You just give it to that one, right? And then here's another deployment phase, Fast and Furious. Pick a friendly non-hero Grunt to Stampede unit to be the target. It can make a normal move. It's a hero phase move, or it's a deployment phase move, and it gets +1 to move. So pretty cool. So the battle traits overall, like, they're not terrible, right? We're getting the Wah, which is kind of weak, right? Reroll charges, okay. Eaten on the Hoof is a pretty decent rampage that we get. That can be pretty clutch. Sometimes it'll be sick, other times it'll be just okay. Being able to move like +1 to +2 to +3 for the first few rounds is pretty decent. It's an okay buff. The Incessant Drive +1 momentum is like, that's okay too, right? Like it's fine. Lookout Sir for a Tusk Boss is okay, and the deployment phase move is actually good. Not a lot of follow-up though, but it's pretty good. So it's like, it's okay, right? Mighty Destroyers is a better rule than all of these rules. Mighty Destroyers is an actual really good, solid rule, and you're losing it. I don't know if what you're getting here makes up for it. If you're like, I want to play all pigs, and that's what you want to do, I think it's I think it's debatable which one might be better. I haven't played a ton of this myself. I would love to hear from you guys down in the comments. If you want to play, like, at least 80% of your list Big Pigs. I mean, the thing about the army of Renown that you really struggle with is that it has no wizards. No wizards, no manifestations. That's it, as far as I'm concerned. Right? Like, you're not playing the manifestation game, then you're losing. Right? But so I think it's definitely weaker, because including wizards, like if I was gonna play a big monster list, I would do like a weird knob shaman reinforced art boys to get that extra power level, and then I would spam my monsters and big pigs from there and keep mighty destroyers is what I would do. I'd probably also play Kragnos to get that 3d6 charge and do the grunt to stampede sub-faction, right? Something like that. Let me know in the comments below, how have your experiences with the Army of Renown been. Heroic traits, we have 3. Hulking Brute. So any charge phase. If this unit charged this turn, pick an enemy unit within 1 inch to be the target. 2-up D3 mortal wounds. If the unmodified charge roll was an 8-up, it's D6 instead of D3. This is, I don't know. Like, some people take this and they stick it on like a Maw Crusher. But I don't know. I just don't see it. You're gonna charge once, maybe twice a game with the hero, and then you can. There's a fail point because it's a 2-up D3, so you can just roll a 1. There's a 33% chance that you fail, right? And then after that, there's another fail point where you roll bad damage. So like you'll pick this and then you'll use it a couple times, maybe, and maybe you won't even get anything out of it, and then it just kind of feels bad from that point, right? Then we have an eye for the fight. This one is, I think, my favorite pick almost every time. It's a reaction or like a passive, one of the two. Let's actually just make sure that we're correct. Might as well, right? Because it's just, all the information is right at my fingertips. It's a reaction. So you declare a redeploy command for a friendly Ironjawz unit that's wholly within 12. If you roll a 1 or a 3 when determining the distance that unit can move for the redeploy, you can use a value of 4 instead. So it's a minimum redeploy of 4. Now, when you have Eye for the Fight, and you're combining it with Mighty Destroyers, you can move a fair distance away from your opponent. I sort of talked about this before, but I think an Eye for the Fight is actually really good. Think about this too, like you have Ard boys that are sitting in the middle, that are sitting on the line in the deployment phase, and then you're going to Mighty Destroyers them 3 inches forward, and then on your opponent's turn, you're going to redeploy them 4 inches forward. You just move 7 inches into the middle of the map on your opponent's turn, and now it's your turn, you're going to move them another 3 inches. You just took your Ard boys and put them in the middle of the table, and you haven't moved them yet. You haven't used a move action yet. That can be pretty powerful. An Eye for the Fight is, I think, the best one to take by far. For sure. Then we have Mega Bossy. If this unit charged this turn, for the rest of the turn, add 1 to charge rolls for friendly Ironjawz units while they're wholly within 18 inches of this unit. If you want to go for big pigs and big monsters, like maybe a Mega Bossy is okay. But if you're going to go with a reinforced unit of Ard boys and a weird knob or something like that, I think an Eye for the Fight is definitely the choice to make. Definitely the choice to make. Artifacts of Power, we have a Trophy Skull, add 10 to this unit's control score. That's okay. Armor of Gork, this unit has a 6-up ward. And Amberbone Whetstone, pick one of that unit's weapons, add 1 to the Ren characteristic of that weapon for the rest of the battle. This one I'm still a little bit undecided on. I don't think there's really a clear winner. Trophy Skull is pretty cool. You can stick it on, you don't really need to stick it on like a Mega Boss or something. Like a Maw Crusher, because they already have a pretty decent control score of 5. You could give it to them and they could have a control score of 15, but I don't know how often that's going to come into play and matter. Usually I'm finding in 4th edition that it's like whoever just sort of wins the fight. Like control, I think, matters a lot less than people sort of think, or that we thought maybe at the beginning of the game. Again, let me know in the comments what you think. How important is control? The more important control is, the better Trophy Skulls is, right? But overall, I'm just kind of lukewarm on this one now. Armor of Gork, this unit has a ward of 6 up. Remember, this has to go to a hero. So it doesn't ever, if you're taking Weird Fist, right? The sub-faction that gives a 6 up for Holy Within 12 Wizards and Priests, then this isn't that good because a lot of your heroes are going to be Wizards and Priests. So you're already getting a 6 up ward. If you have a Maw Crusher, you can just throw this on a Maw Crusher. I think that's probably the right call if you have a monster hero, a Tusk Boss, or a Maw Crusher or Gordrak. I think you could probably just throw the Armor of Gork on them, and that's like a good call every time. But if you don't, then you're probably not going to take this one, right? But if you do, I think you probably take this one a lot. And then the Whetstone. Pick one of that unit's melee weapons, add one of the Rend characteristic of that weapon for the rest of the battle. This is something I actually thought about taking on a Maw Crusher, just giving it +1 Rend, and letting him just go into the middle and fight against infantry, because the Mega Boss on Maw Crusher has anti-infantry +1 Rend. So you just throw an extra Rend on that, right? If I just pull it up real quick here. Where are we? Oh, I missed it. Right, Mega Boss on Maw Crusher. So, you know, we have anti-infantry +1 Rend, so we're at 2 Rend for infantry. So if I just throw an extra Rend on the boss... No, we can't. Probably can't throw it on companion weapons, right? I don't know. Can we throw... Because it says, like, pick a weapon. So I don't know if we can pick a companion weapon. Let me know in the comments. But if you throw an extra Rend, even on the boss Choppa, and you're fighting against infantry, now you're at 3 Rend. So things like Rock Guts, things like Ardboys, you know, now they're on a 6-up save, right? Like those 3-up saves turn into 6-up saves pretty quick with 3 Rend. So I think it's something worth considering, because I think it's the only way that you can really play the Maw Crusher right now, I think. But I really want to talk to Aaron, because Aaron was playing a Maw Crusher and did well at a tournament. So I'm curious to know his thoughts on it. So, you hear me, Aaron? Let's do it, buddy. Lore of the Weird. So here's our spells. We have Bashblads, which casts on a 6. It's our unlimited spell. You pick a friendly unit wholly within 12, and then melee weapons have crit 2 hits. This is counter synergistic with Zogrock Anvil Smasher. You can't have crit mortals and crit 2 hits at the same time, right? And it only lasts until the end of turn. So, pardon me, Zogrock's buff is so much better than this buff. But again, our wizard is primarily going to be playing the manifestation game, so a lot of these spells you're probably not even going to be casting, right? You're going to be casting your manifestations because they're better. We also have Mighty Edbutt on a 6. Enemy unit within 18 inches, D3 mortals, or 3 mortals if it's a wizard. This spell's actually okay. If you need to like finish off, it's kind of like Arcane Bolt. It's a little bit better than Arcane Bolt. So if you need to finish off an enemy, like with 1 mortal wound, this spell's cool, right? Or a foot hero, like a foot wizard. It's okay too. This one's situationally good. But again, you're just going to be casting your manifestations. And then you have the Great Big Green Handed Gort casting on a 7. Friendly unit that's wholly within 9 inches. Has to be pretty close. And then you set up wholly within 24 of the caster and more than 9 away from enemy units. So this used to be a lot stronger because it was like wholly within 12 and you could set up anywhere on the table. And it's not that anymore. So I cast it last night trying to reposition my War Chanter to the other side of the fight so that he wouldn't get charged. Like he was exposed on one side, like one of my flanks collapsed. So I wanted to like teleport him to the other side of me so that I could keep him alive, keep that 6-up ward going, and keep, you know, generating prayer points and all this. But he didn't. He got killed. And then casting on a 7 is actually kind of tough for us because we have no bonuses to cast. So you're just trying to cast on a 7. The other 2 casting on a 6 are much easier. And again, casting manifestations, like the Hand of Gork is situationally good. A cool trick that you can do with it is use Magic Intervention on your opponent's first turn and teleport something of yours like into the middle of the map, because they haven't got a chance to move yet. So if you can just like, if they're like, oh, I choose Seize the Center, and you're like, cool, and then they do their hero phase on your turn, you can be like, I'm gonna Magical Intervention. You do need an 8, right, to cast this, so it is a big risk, but it is like a trick that you can do that'll destroy your opponent's ability to score that battle tactic on that turn. So there is some play with it, but it's overall, you're just going to be casting manifestations. So war beats, these are our prayers. These are all good. They all get answered on a 4. You have Get 'em Beat, where you pick a friendly Ironjawz unit holding within 12. It gets +1 to charge, and if it's 10 or more, you get 3d6 charge in addition to the +1 charge. So, okay, just play Kragnos instead. Fix and Beat, heals d6 or d3 +3 if it's overcharged, like whatever. You know, I don't know. And then not super important compared to Kill a Beat, friendly Ironjawz units wholly or Ironjawz unit wholly within 12, +1 damage for melee attacks for the rest of the turn. And if it's 8 or more, you get 2 targets instead. Quite good. +1 damage on Ardboys doubles their damage output. It doubles it. And +1 damage on things like Ragers and stuff can help you push the amount of damage that you need to kill the thing that you're trying to go for. If you have 6 Ragers and you give them +1 damage, I think that puts them at 3 damage each. I think that they are base 2 damage. Let's see. So, yeah. So while with base 2 damage, you know, against a monster, if you have Zogrok's Crit Mortals on top, it's a 50% damage increase. So that damage increase could be enough to like push you over the top. And then this is actually Kill a Beat is synergistic with Zogrok's buff because Crit Mortals does damage equal to the damage characteristic, which will be 1 more. So if I have Ardboys, like reinforced Ardboys with Kill a Beat and with Zogrok, I'm gonna throw 41 dice, and every 6 is a mortal, right? So just straight up, like it's a lot, right? It's a lot of damage output. Kill a Beat is really strong. Command points. So Ironjawz love all out attack. I need to tier this better. Ironjawz love all out attack. All out attack is maybe the most important command for us. The reason being is because almost everything that we have hits on 4s. So if you're like brand new to Ironjawz or you're not sure what command points you should be using, if you use half of your command points on all out attack, that's okay, right? All out attack on my turn, all out attack on my opponent's turn. Those 4 up to hits turning into 3 up to hits matter a lot. We tend to have pretty good 2 wound. Like I don't think we have anything worse than a 3 up to wound. So if you change, you know, your Ardboys from 4s and 3s to 3s and 3s, that's a pretty important difference. So we do like all out attack. Countercharge is another really powerful one for Ironjawz in our army because we're slow. So anything that you can do to get extra movement is really strong. And this combos really well with Mighty Destroyers. I can move something 3 inches in my opponent's turn, and then I can countercharge them. So this combination is going to be really strong for doing things like denying tactics, you know, taking objectives. So if you have brutes, you can countercharge them and turn off smaller 1 and 2 wound models to contest objectives. So countercharge is really good for a slow, fighty, punchy melee army like ours. Rally is good too. We have no healing in the army, really. Like there's a little bit, you know, some prayers or whatever, but nothing really strong. So being able to like bring back 3-up save, 6-up ward models is good. The tankier that a unit is, the better that rallying them back can be, especially when you're fighting against shooting armies. If your opponent is spending their command points to shoot in your turn, you know, and you can rally your stuff back before you actually get into the fight, which can be pretty good and strong, right? So rally's pretty decent. Magical Intervention is always strong in every army because casting manifestations on your opponent's turn is really good. It could probably be a B tier for us, depending on what manifestations you're taking, because we don't have any +1 casters. So, but if you have like Places of Power, and if you have like, you know, like relatively easy manifestations to cast on like 5s and 6s, then, you know, casting manifestations is good and strong. Redeploy, I put it A tier. Redeploy is I think probably S tier if you have an eye for to fight. Redeploying a minimum of 4 inches, again, you're just moving a slow army extra movement. So redeploy is another really strong command point for us to spend. And power through, again, more movement. Anything that moves us, we like. We like moving. So power through is a really good command for us to spend as well. And one thing that people often forget is you can power through with brutes. If 3 wound brutes are in combat with 2 wound somethings, brutes can power through. They're going to deal extra damage, right? And they're going to move onto an objective that you want to zone out. So keep that in mind. It's not just for like the big monsters and stuff. You can also use it on like 3 wound stuff as well. It can be pretty strong. And then at the double and forward to victory, one of them is reroll charge and one of them is auto run 6. You just use these as you need them. If you're looking at the table and you're like, oh, I picked take the flank, but I need a run roll of like 5 to make it, well, then you just spend the command point and auto run 6. Or if you fail a 5-inch charge, you spend the command point and re-roll the charge. You just use these as needed. All of your command points should first be in service of you scoring your tactics and objectives, and then denying your opponent's tactics and objectives, and then from there for like, you know, for other things like just fighting and killing models and things like this, right? All out defense is also B tier. Sometimes you'll need it if your opponent has like really high rend, or if you're trying to keep one of your monsters alive, it can be pretty good. But generally speaking, because we already have pretty good saves, you know, unless your opponent is really slappy, then all out defense isn't really going to be helpful. And a lot of the armies that we're weak to, in terms of like us like dying, like our models actually dying to them, it's because they deal mortals, and so all out defense doesn't help us where we're weak in our defense, if that makes sense. And covering fires is F tier because we don't really have shooting. I think the Maw Crusher has the roar, but you're not going to covering fire that, right? So all out attack and counter charge, dude. If all you're doing is 2 all out attacks and a counter charge, you're doing okay. Battle tactics. Take the flanks, S tier. We have good monsters on the flanks, so that can be pretty good for us. Do not waver is a good battle tactic for us as well. It's 2 units fight and no units die. We are pretty tanky, so, you know, killing our units completely is something that usually takes a few rounds of combat. So, you know, as long as there's obviously no weak hero exposed or whatever, and you have to be a little bit careful with things like Ragers, but for the most part, Ardboys, Brutes, and our monsters, they're going to be able to survive, so fighting with 2 of them and nothing dying is very reasonable for us. Take their land is also pretty good with A tier, again, just because of big pigs. The big pigs running up on the flanks and running into their back lines, that can be pretty good. Decunning approach is another good one for us, just because of those big pigs, right? Like a big pig coming in and being the 3rd unit into the scrum and fighting, that can be pretty good for us as well. And seize the center. You know, this comes a little bit later in the game, but I find Ironjawz are actually pretty decent at fighting over the middle, because we can, for a slow army, as we've discussed with redeploys and Mighty Destroyers, we can get there pretty good. And so we can hold seize the center with like some of our foot heroes, let's say, which can be a good play. Attack on 2 fronts. Taking objectives from our opponent is something that Brutes are specialized at doing. So if you can put Brutes in the right position and Mighty Destroyers them forward, this is another one that we can do pretty easily, and we have some relatively fast monsters on the side, right? And the big pigs have, you know, pretty good damage and 5 control, so if we can get onto an objective our opponent controls, knock a few models off, generally speaking, we're going to be able to do it. And slay the entourage, that's B. This is B for every army. It's just whether or not your opponent is has something in their general's regiment that is either exposed or, you know, it just depends on what your opponent's doing. If you see an opening, take it. And time to get stuck in is just F tier. Don't take this one. It's just kind of bad. 3 units have to be wholly within friendly territory, and then they all have to be friendly outside of friendly territory, and they all have to fight. We're not that fast. This is more like the only time I think that this could really be done is if you're doing like Kragnos. You know, it's like everything moves and then a bunch of stuff charges and fights. Maybe you could get time to get stuck in with a Kragnos. But overall, like, we're not we're not the best army for scoring, but we're a pretty decent army for scoring. There's a lot of things that we can sort of do pretty well. Nothing is like super amazing, you know, like even the flanks, if we're going second, we can get shut off on that, but like we're pretty decent. I'm not even sure if I would take the flanks and do not waver as S tier. They might both be S tier. That's kind of what I mean. It's like we don't have a lot of tactics that are like guaranteed for us that are super easy, like some armies have, but we have a lot of A tier, really good battle tactics. So, I don't know. Like, it looks like it's pretty decent. It's pretty decent. For Honor Guard, you can do priority target on a hacking crew. That can do some work. Mobility helps the hacking crew's positioning. So if you can deploy him well and get him into where he needs to be, getting +1 to hit, +1 to wound against your opponent's general and his regiment can be pretty strong. Because the hacking crew is like our surgical removal piece. So getting him where he needs to be and then killing the thing he needs to kill, priority target, can definitely help with that. He's also hard to kill. So if he's the only thing in your general's regiment and your general is some foot hero in the back line, you'll be able to deny slay the entourage pretty effectively. Bodyguard is another interesting one. If you want to take like a Maw Crusher or a Tusk Boss and put something like a Maw Crusher moving up the middle of the map to fight your opponent's brick of infantry with the Ardboys sitting beside them with Bodyguard, and then everything that's in combat with a Maw Crusher is getting -1 attacks, that's pretty decent, right? You're like, hey, guess what? I'm a tar pit. I'm going to move my Ardboys with Mighty Destroyers and redeploys and all this forward up the table. The Maw Crusher is going to sit beside them. The Ardboys are going to be like a part screen so that not a bunch of stuff can pile on the Maw Crusher. But then, 2 or 3 units are going to be in combat with this Maw Crusher, all getting -1 attacks. So that can be it's interesting to me. I haven't played it myself, but I think it's something playable, right? And then special assignment is fine if the other two suck. If you're like, well, there's nothing else that's good, then giving something rend is also fine, right? Like the hacking crew moves a lot and charges a lot, so giving it +1 rend like anti-monster or anti-infantry, that's fine. If your hacking crew, if there's nothing in your opponent's general's regiment that you really want to kill, but there's something else you really want to kill, you can just, give the hacking crew special assignment. Because he disengages and recharges, so he'll be able to use special assignment a lot more, because you have to charge to get the bonus to rend. So, it's worth thinking about, right? I think really the hacking, like for me personally, I'm finding that my general's like a weird knob with an eye for fight, right? And the hacking crew's the only unit in his regiment. And then my hacking crew is being deployed in my last drop, and I'm trying to put him in a place where I want to kill, like I've already decided what in my opponent's army I want the hacking crew to kill, and then it's either going to be priority target or special assignment based on that. That's my go-to. But I think Bodyguard is interesting with certain playstyles. It's not bad. Bodyguard is strong. Key units. So Ardboys are pretty key. We need them for a weird knob to get an extra cast, to get an extra power level. And we are in a world of manifestations, so extra power level is good, so Ardboys are almost required for that. Ardboys are also a unit that take the buffs in our army very, very well, right? They take Zogrok's buff very well, right? We're throwing a lot of dice, a lot of mortals. They take the War Chanter's Kill a Beat buff really well, more and more damage, right? Like, just really grinding. Ardboys are like a 3-up save with a 6-up ward, potentially. They have anti-charge +1 rend. They also have their like shield bash. Like they're a solid anvil unit, and I like to play them in every single list, at least one reinforced list. But hey, why not two? Ragers are another really key unit. The fact that they have always strike first and anti-monster +1 rend, they are a surgical piece, which will, and they can run and charge too. I forgot that in my last game. I didn't have to, but I Mighty Destroyered them, and then I forgot about their run and charge. So like run and charge, strike first with Mighty Destroyers, anti-monster +1 rend, like these guys slap. Ragers are very good. Play them with Kragnos, you will not be disappointed. Take Kragnos, take 2x6 Ragers, and have that be the start of your list. You will have a fun time. The Weird Knob Shaman is another key one, again, just because we live in a world of manifestations. So if without manifestations, if they weren't in the game, I would really have to think about if the Weird Knob Shaman was worth taking, but we live in that world. So you take a Weird Knob Shaman. War Chanter and Zogrok both give very good buffs, and the two of them, their buffs together are synergistic. So buffing like reinforced Ardboys with War Chanter and Zogrok every single turn is legit and lethal. So I'm a big fan of both of those buff pieces. And big pigs are also very good. So a hacking crew and a gouger. That's what I take right now in my list. I do a hacking crew on one flank and a gouger on the other, and I like it. Most of the time. I ran a gouger into Dirthu last night and didn't like that, but beside, the hacking crew is maybe our best unit. The Hacking Crew, I think, might be the only S tier unit that we have in the book. Go check out my Ironjawz unit tier list for more information on that. Deployment. We're a slow army, so you have to deploy forward. Keep your tactics in mind when you're deploying, specifically seize the center and take the flanks. And our deployment is pretty straightforward. So here I have TTS, and I'll just sort of give you just a quick sort of example of how we're deploying stuff. So here's this is like my standard Ironjawz list right now. I have a reinforced unit of Ardboys. I have a reinforced unit of Ragers. I have a Hackin' Crew and a Gouger, and one of these guys, and my friend Zogrok. This is my list right now, and I have 2x5 Brutes, which is something I'm kind of like going back and forth on. I don't really know how I feel about the Brutes. Sometimes I play them and I think they're really strong, and other times I play them and I don't. I don't think that they're good when they're reinforced, because what their job is here, their job is to be where like where I want to take objectives, right? Like to zone out objectives for my opponents. And that just means that they are better in 2 places than 1. It's 15 wounds on a 3-up save for 5 Brutes, so they're pretty tanky. So this, I would say, is like a standard concept of how to deploy them. The Ragers are sitting in the back because they're waiting for something to kill. Like, they're waiting to see where they need to go. And then they're going to, like, Mighty Destroyers run and charge, and then strike first, right? So they're going to kind of hang out in the back. We got my heroes kind of in the middle, right? My big brick of Ardboys in the front. And then we got 2 Brutes on the side. And then we have our big pigs that are off on the flanks that are here to score, like, take the flanks and take their land and stuff like this, and just to generally try to get into the back line. So this is conceptually how I deploy my army every single time. If I wanted to give a more concrete example, let's just take whatever we'll take. Feral Foray, right? And then let's see, Feral Foray. Let's just place our terrain out on the table here. So here's my general setup. And then when I deploy this, the way that my regiments are is that my weird knob is in a regiment with a Hacking Crew and nothing else. He's the general, and this is his regiment. And then after this, I think I do Zogrok with Ardboys and my Ragers, because I'm trying to, when I'm deploying, I'm trying to withhold as much information from my opponent as I possibly can. So if I place like my big brick of Ardboys in the middle of the table, well, Zogrok is going to go with them, so it's no more information, and the Ragers are going to go behind them. So deploying all this down together is not giving my opponent too much information. And then my War Chanter and my Brutes are in another regiment. And then the order that I deploy them in is going to be these guys first, these guys second, oops, these guys second, and this group third. Because the Hacking Crew is the thing I want to wait till I get as much information from my opponent as I possibly can, right? I don't want to put my Hacking Crew and then I don't want to put my Hacking Crew down and then my opponent put the things I want to kill with the Hacking Crew far away, right? So to start off, I would probably just take my Ardboys on this map, and I'm gonna stick them right in the middle, kabam. Roughly in 3 ranks. If we were being really serious about playing here, these guys got to be off center, and then these guys are going to be off center, going back this way. Done. Zogrok goes in right behind him, whatever, and then the Ragers are going to come like, whatever, probably like here. Cool. Place of power over here. Feral Foray. How much about this place of power do I really care about? Do I really want to... I could deploy... Like... Yeah, whatever. I'll just keep it in the middle. That's fine. Places of power are good. Up next, we got a War Chanter. So I'm going to stick him over on the Rager side. Right? Zogrok should probably be here. And he should probably be right here. Right? Because the War Chanter is... The War Chanter is the hero that I'll move around with more. Like, he'll go other places and not just sit with the Ardboys. because his +1 damage is really good, like I said, on the Ragers and on the Ardboys. So he's a little bit more flexible. It depends on where he needs to go. Zogrok, for the most part, is always going to buff the Ardboys. But the War Chanter, especially because the War Chanter can buff 2 units with +1 damage, right? Because if he's overcharged. So his range, I'm going to try to keep him in a spot where he can potentially hit 2. So I want him to stay kind of between the Ragers and the Ardboys, so that if he needs to, he can buff both, if that makes sense. So the Ragers are a little bit further back, and the War Chanter is going to hang out with them. And then I'm going to take my Gouger, and I'm going to stick him on. I don't know if he can fit through here. Let's assume he can fit through here. Let's just assume he can fit through there. So he's just going to stay here because he's going to run up and try to get take the flanks for me, because he can do that without even having to run. So he'll run and do, on turn 1, he'll probably run and do take the flanks. That's a really good turn 1 for this list, right? Because I have my 2 whatevers. Brutes on this objective. Brutes on this objective. Feral Foray is one where your opponent can come and take your objectives and like burn them for a turn so that you can't contest them. So I'm just going to slap Brutes on them. Either I'm going to leave them here, or else I'm going to maybe march them down the map and try to take my opponents, depending on how my opponent has deployed. My Brutes are either going to sit or they're going to go. Ardboys are going to probably move more into the center, right? And then my little army is going to march into the middle, and the Brutes are going to, depending on what's happening, either stay or go. And then last but not least, we have our Hacking Crew. The Hacking Crew is going to go on this side because the place of power is here. So if my opponent wants to put their wizards over here, they're going to have to deal with my Hacking Crew. He's also maybe going to take terrain, right? There's lots of, like, take their land, right? And then last but not least is my Weird Knob. So the Weird Knob, his teleport range is only 9 inches, right? So it's just something that I think about a little bit. So he might go somewhere like this, but even then it's like too far. 9 inches is so small, right? This is the Hand of Gork range. It's very small. So he could go in a position where he can maybe teleport a unit of Brutes like this. But this seems a little bit out of the way, right? He's got to be wholly within 12 of... Why didn't it copy? Oh, that's weird. Oh, is it just because it's like way too... TTS is so funny sometimes. Can we not just copy this and paste it? No? Okay, whatever. So, I don't know. Like, teleporting Brutes onto one of these objectives, if my opponent sort of leaves them, would be okay. But it's not like a huge move. It's not a thing that's going to happen a whole bunch. So just making sure that he's wholly within 12 of your Ardboys to get that extra power level, right? That's going to be a lot more important. Oh, what's the matter? Oh, whatever. But he's normally just going to hang out with the Ardboys because that's where he needs to be. You know, give him protection, give him that power level. Zogrok and the War Chanter can kind of go with the Ragers or the Brutes a little bit too if they need to. But for the most part, it's going to be... This is a pretty standard deployment, I feel. Right? And that's one of the reasons I like this list, is I just like lists that have nice symmetry on the battlefield, where it's like you can sort of be in all the places that you need, and that's why I like this list. I've played it a few times. I'm still kind of going back and forth a little bit on Ardboys. And I think right now for Ironjawz, I'm leaning more into Kragnos. I'm thinking that Kragnos and Ragers is going to be a pretty good way to go for Ironjawz. But yeah, this is like a standard deployment for me. What do you think? Do you like this deployment? Do you like this list? Let me know in the comments below. Be sure to check out the Discord. We have a fantastic community of people over in the Discord if you want help with your lists, or you want to just bounce some ideas around or ask some questions. There's so many great folks in my Discord that like I couldn't even name them, right? There's just so many, and I wish I could take credit for it, but I can't. All I did was say like, hey, you like orcs, come join my Discord, and a bunch of fantastic people showed up, which is what that's the AOS community in general. People in my town, people in my Discord, 99% of all the people that I run into, fantastic people, fantastic players, having a fantastic time. Like, subscribe, Wah.